This is Final Fantasy IV, known in the United States as Final Fantasy II, way back on the Super Nintendo when I first played it. And this is being played as part of the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection, which I obtained from the Maryland Library System. This is why Maryland libraries exist, right? This is why libraries write out video games. So you can play the classics. Obviously, I played Final Fantasy 1 on the NES Classic on this channel. I'm going to go back and play that later, but I'll sample how it is on this collection. This collection apparently includes only ROMs from the original game. So Final Fantasy 1 through 3 on the Super Famicom, localized for the United States, of course. This game, which again was known as Final Fantasy 2 when it launched, because they skipped the other two games. But this game is the game that I played on the Super NES when it launched. We'll start a new game, because we only just went through the cutscenes. We went through the cutscenes just to kind of set the table. Yeah, is this a Ted Woosley localization? Or, like, is this the infamous Spoony Bard localization? But yeah, as you saw there earlier, that bit at the beginning where the white and black mages are being, well, flashed out of existence, I guess you could say. They're being killed. This is a Super Famicom game, so I guess they weren't allowed to actually, like, well, they could show, the dialogue could show that they were killing people. But on the NES, on the Super NES localization, they probably wouldn't let them use the word kill. So I'm curious what parts of the localization were preserved and which ones were not. Like, which parts of the localization were returned to their original tone in the Japanese game. Because I don't know how the original Japanese game was. I don't know what the dialogue was like in the original Japanese game, honestly. But I tend to believe Nintendo wouldn't have allowed an RPG of this era to include killing as part of the storytelling, unless it was implied. So I mean, yeah, again, as I said, the games included in this collection are ROMs from the original releases. So this game, based on what I've played, obviously they're just taking the original Super Nintendo game, which is fine. Although I want to say they might have cleaned up the visuals in Final Fantasy 1 through 3. They call it a pixel remaster. But again, this game looks, I would argue, looks just like the Super NES game. If they made changes, they're probably very slight. Resume the battle. This is an auto battle, so you don't have to worry about that. There is an option, yeah. There is no autoplay button, which is interesting. You can't skip this cutscene. You have to page through it using the buttons, which, honestly, that's the kind of feature that every modern video game needs. I grew up, you know, paging by mashing on the X button to get through cutscenes as a kid. This is basically how we had to play video games back then. There was no auto skip button. You just, damnation. That definitely was not in the original. That was not in the original Super NES version. Tarnation. I have no idea what he said. I'll look at a Let's Play and see how the dialogue was in the original game. But yeah, when I was a kid, I saw the original Spoony Bard script. If you know, you know. When this game originally came out on the Super Nintendo, the rules back then were you had to make the dialogue fit into very small spaces. So the best way I would describe it is, imagine taking, how do I describe this? I guess the best way to describe it is, imagine taking hieroglyphics, having to transcribe those hieroglyphics into a language that's not about pictures, it's about letters. Because remember, in Japanese, when these games came out, I believe they were using Japanese kanji, so they were syllable based. So imagine taking, you know, a page that's like 1,000 symbols long, and that basically, if a literal transcription of all the letters from the Japanese would probably be 10 times longer. So imagine taking, I guess, a single sheet of paper, that's like written hieroglyphics, having to translate every letter, having to translate all those symbols into English letters, but you can't change the size of the font. You can't change the size of the letters. So you basically have to make 3 letters fit into the same space as 1 letter. So not only are you compressing the text, you have to compress the actual language they're using. So again, if I give you a single sheet of paper with a whole bunch of hieroglyphics that said, okay, transcribe all of these images to letters, but the letters have to be the same size as the images. It's not so easy. So again, so paragraphs of text that would fit on a page have to fit into 1 paragraph. And what's worse, you have to fit into a screen that's maybe 3 or 4 lines long. So imagine taking 12 lines of text and making it shrink into a quarter of the size, while maintaining the flow of the dialogue and the subtlety in the storytelling. Again, on cartridges with very limited space, it was hard to do. The Japanese were doing it. I mean, they were making concessions too, because they had to fit, all this text into, I think this game was a 1 megabyte cartridge. I believe it was 8 megabits at the time. There were when the Super Famicom came out, 8 megabit cartridges were more common. Strider obviously was a big deal when that came out in the Sega Genesis, because they were converting a 40 megabit arcade game, I think. I think they were converting like a 6 megabyte arcade game to a 1 megabyte cartridge. So they made a whole bunch of concessions to the color depth. They added more dithered graphics, So there was less detail in the art. The animation, they got rid of a bunch of animation cycles. But again, Strider's still one of my favorite Genesis games, because they basically did a great job of just sort of making a really thrilling action game. With surprisingly good level design, but we'll talk about Strider. I did a video where I played the arcade version of Strider. But what I'm doing here is playing through the basically a updated localization of the Super NES ROM that I played when I was a kid. I remember when this game came out. I remember. What was it? I guess I should mention the story. As I'm paging through the story, you're seeing that you start out as a soldier who's under orders to bring a crystal. You're under orders of the king to bring back a crystal, and you're basically just killing people to get to it. As you saw early in the story, you had characters that look like characters from Final Fantasy 1. The white mage and the black mage were brought in, and they were just killed because they're in the way. They're guarding the crystal that you end up taking. And I guess when this came out in Japan originally, because remember, this is the 4th game in the franchise, so having an anti-hero just slaughter people who look like people who would be heroes in a previous Final Fantasy game is probably kind of jaw-dropping to some people. I can imagine, I guess it's like killing Superman. The 90s were raw, man. The 90s were hard like the streets, and this game came out in the 90s. But this was before, Xenogears. This is before that kind of, emo anime boy. It was before that kind of emo shonen anime storytelling that you would have seen more in Final Fantasy VII. Cloud Strife. I don't care about you. I don't care about anyone. That kind of. Not edgelordy really, but by the time Grandia 2 and Xenogears came out, they were hiring a lot of heroes like that. So so to recap, we wind up our hero's a soldier under orders from the king to bring back a crystal, and in the process, he's killing people along the way. And as you can see, he's worried that, you know, the soldiers are worried that the king is losing his marbles, because this game is timely. I'm playing this game of the year of our Lord, January 2025. Happy Martin Luther King Day. This story will be very poorly received once the wrong people get their hands on it. Kane's my boy. I basically sassed the king. He sassed the king to protect my honor, so. But yeah, Kane's basically your companion who was a meme back in the 90s, because as you'll see later, he has a unique ability to leave the fight, then come back stronger than ever. That's basically what his skill is. It's a skill that allows him to run away from a fight, but then come back stronger. But that's another issue. Which is actually a theme in this game, because there are several characters who die and then come back stronger than ever before. Spoiler alert if you've played a 25-year-old, a 35-year-old, I think, Super Nintendo game. The map that was added at the top right-hand corner of the screen is a fantastic feature. I'm glad they added that. You can turn it off. You can close it. You can also turn on the auto battle, which is, again, a nice quality of life feature. It would be nice if you could... Oh, it tells you how many secret items are here. That's cool. It would also be nice if the game actually allowed you to fast forward through some of this, but I'm pretty sure you can't. Again, we live in a new era, kids. We don't have to, okay, autosave is on. There is manual saving too. I want to, in the overworld, at least in the original Super Nintendo game, and I want to say in inns, and in designated waypoints, which I believe you can find inside castles and dungeons. Yep, deliver the bomb ring. Someone set us up the bomb ring. So again, I guess I'm going to fill time by like vamping and rambling about what it's like to have played this game when it launched, because I did. The Super Famicom that I play on this channel all the time. The source of all my Super Street Fighter 2 videos, all of my cartridge captures for Super NES games are made possible from the very same cracked, yellowed Super NES that we got back in 1992. And this is one of the first games I rented from the library, because I was a big... Oh. Yeah, again, we killed some black mages. Again, just so you know. Not, it's like Nurse Joy in Pokemon. All the black mages look like this. It's a concession to the art style of the era. You didn't have a whole bunch of space on cartridges, so it was traditional back then to have a whole bunch of copy-pasted sprites like this. And again, like I said, this is just a Super NES game. It doesn't look like they really modified the graphics at all. Although I don't remember the fire being so well animated. But yeah, the assets, you know, all these assets that take up like, what? How many pixels wide are they? Maybe 8? All these 8x8 pixel assets you see here, very geometric level design here. It's how video games were made back then for the most part. Lots of 90-degree angles. So yeah, this is very, very, very super duper old school. And I approve. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't lean into any of the Octopath Traveler stuff. But that's what a lot of video games were doing back then. You can get to these treasure chests. I think there's like a secret passage or like a hole you have to drop down. When I used to play this game on a CRT, obviously. There you go. Press the button. I don't remember if that was there. Yeah, I think they added that exclamation mark. Yeah. All these exclamation marks, I want to say, were added, because in the original game, you just kind of walked up to them and touched them. And that button with the exclamation mark, that button was here, was kind of hard to see. But on the Super Famicom, if you were playing on a CRT, you wouldn't see that exclamation mark. So that might be a quality of life feature they added. Again, I approve. There is a map. So let me see the square button. And you press the triangle button to see the overworld map. So this is the map of the entire game of Final Fantasy IV. Worth noting that obviously there are dungeons you're going to have to explore. Again, you can't really see that because my finger's in the way. That little cursor's in the way. I would say this world is about, it would take you about if there were no mountains in the way, you could probably walk from one end to the other in 5 minutes. If no enemies blocked you, you could walk from, and if there were no oceans, you can walk from one end to the other in maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It's not Skyrim. Your character doesn't move that quickly, and he's very small. That desert you're going to see to the northeast of us, that might be intentional. That looks shaped like China. But I've played Final Fantasy games in the past. I always joke that Final Fantasy maps in some way look like an interpolated version of the world. On the far eastern corner of the map, you can see all the islands. That could be like the Marianas Islands, I suppose. It could be like, I guess in a way it's kind of like Japan. It might not be like Honshu and all the other islands in the archipelago, but that string of islands, that archipelago, it's a nice touch. I like stuff like that. Again, you can make a game like this in RPG Maker, so if you're curious about how old school games design their maps, I'm fond of Final Fantasy 1's map for personal reasons, but I'm not sure if it's a really amazing map. I forgot my girlfriend. I totally forgot about Rosa in this game. Yeah, I remember Rydia, who you'll see later in the game. I showed you a picture of her when I was mapping through the image gallery earlier. I totally forgot Rosa was in this game. What does that tell you? Because obviously I remember Cecil here and Kane. I think Golbez is on our team too. Spoiler alert. There's the Spoony Bard. Don't remember his name. We don't get to rename our characters either. Okay. Yeah, I totally forgot about Rosa, man. I guess she's the white mage, right? She's our mage. I mean, because Rydia is the monster summoner, who we'll see later. The old man the old man is our mage. Yeah, the old man shows up later in the game. I barely remember some of this character arc. So we can't see the entire castle from here, but we'll just see how it goes. I want to say I played this game with a Super Nintendo player's guide that showed me maps of all the areas and most of all the treasure chests. So I kind of cheated. You know, again, people can say what you want. Back in the day, almost everyone my age who grew up playing video games had help, and if they didn't, they bought strategy guides, they bought books, they had some assistance. They very rarely play games blind with no help, which is good because if you're a kid and you're learning how to play video games, that's how you learned how to play them. So this game I definitely played. I think it was with the Super NES Player's Guide. I don't remember. Oh, I thought I killed them. Well, first of all, they might still be dead. But in other words, the people I killed earlier might still be dead because people die when they're killed. But I believe these people they're just more mages we captured along the way. So having them disappear implies to me that they were killed, because in old video games, when characters flashed out of existence, it meant they were killed. Okay, so maybe they were just captured. But yeah, in old video games, people would disappear when they died, just to kind of save on memory, you know what I mean? You had to get them off the screen and save some memory. And again, if you're playing RPG Maker, you can do the same tricks too if you want. Make an old school 8-bit, 16-bit RPG. I already spoke to her, by the way, but thanks. And that's our boy Sid. He's gonna join our team later as well. Oh, this guy's like Lucas from Batman. He makes all the Batmobile crap. And for people of a certain age, Sid and Chocobos are the one thread that connects all Final Fantasy games, I've been told. Sid, there is a Sid, I guess Sid is like Biff Tannen. There is a Sid in every Final Fantasy game, I've been told. I first noticed him here, but apparently he was also or a character named Sid was also in Final Fantasy 1. I just forget. I think he actually provided you with the airship, if I'm not mistaken, so that would explain that. So I can't talk to the dude in bed? Up and at him, soldier. There you go. So that's how you talk to him. You have to walk through the bed. You have to sidle up next to him. So all these guys who want to sleep, they have to like crawl over each other, or they have to crawl over the foot of their bed, I guess. I don't know. It's a cute touch. So yeah, we're part of a group that, you know, we're supposed to be we're soldiers. We think we're supposed to be defending the homeland. Instead, we're being used for like colonial exploitation, I suppose. I forget all the nuance. But yeah, the king is ordering us to kill people for like crystals. And obviously it's narratively important that, you know, we grab that crystal because that will become important later. But as we know, our soldier here is having thoughts. He didn't sign up for this mess, you know. He didn't sign up for this mess. He's basically doing the whole... He's basically doing the... Yeah, we're going through the Vietnamization of video game storytelling. So if you're opposed to politics in video games, you're in the wrong video game. Final Fantasy games, believe it or not, are somewhat political. Some of them. Final Fantasy 1, I forget. Final Fantasy 2... Final Fantasy 4, 6, 7, absolutely. Don't fool yourself, Tifa fans. And one other game. Final Fantasy 4, 6, and 7 are absolutely gobsmackingly political. Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 12, of course. Don't fool yourself. The only way to strip the politics out, I mean, even Metaphor, which people are willing to concede, okay, look, it's an RPG about an election. Yeah, sure, it's political, but I think they talked themselves out of it because there was a certain group of people who decided that they were going to be mad about... They saw a screenshot of a localization, and they lost their mess. I think they had AI do a translation of what was said, or I guess they allowed an image to color their opinion of what the Metaphor localization would be because one line of dialogue was changed that they saw. Obviously, there were other changes made for readability's sake, and, you know, localizations do that. The good news is that Metaphor seemed to have avoided most of that mess because it's a very highly regarded game. Press the triangle button to go to this screen. There are quick saves, that's good. Dark Knight, the best kind of knight, but of course, a bit later, he will become a light knight because tropes. Walk speed. We can change the walk speed, so we can speed that up. Auto battle, we'll do that later. I at least want to show you the basics, because the active time, yeah, there's active time battle, which means if you're rifling through the menus to choose spells and items, the game will continue as normal. It's a stupid concession to the idea that some people wanted turn-based RPGs to have, quote, real-time, unquote, combat. You can set the battle at normal speed. We'll speed it up as we need to. Yeah, we'll speed it up later. But I want to say as a kid, I played with the weight battle because I wanted a turn-based game. I didn't want a real-time game. And again, as an adult, there's no reason to turn this on unless you're curious about how it plays out. Because why would you want the game to punish you for not being fast enough to choose items on a menu? Again, it's not, I mean, it's dexterity driven, but it's not, we're not talking about Dark Souls here. You know what I mean? I just had a conversation about, yeah, actually, what's Dark Souls, like, Dark Souls is not really an RPG. It's a real-time action game with numbers where the numbers go up. Like, in other words, to me, if you're talking about an RPG like this, you're talking about games where you can make, games where gear supposedly matters more than dexterity, where loadouts and tactics and decisions, like turn-based decisions, are more important than dexterity. You could argue that there are exploits that could turn an action game into an RPG, and my response is, if you have to dodge roll to stay alive, then you're playing an action game. I'm just hunting for treasure chests. I probably don't even need to do all this. In fact, how many treasure chests are here? I got 3 of the 18 treasure chests. We'll find some more later. And I guess later in the game I'll be able to access this, which means I'll probably be able to access... And I can't move out of the way here. As a kid, I remember seeing images of this game in magazines and saying, wow, this pixel art looks amazing. Because, again, it's kind of hard to see if you're playing this on a 4K. I'm playing this on a 1080p screen. But playing this on a CRT where, like, all the pixel art gets blurred, there's some interesting shading going on with all this, you know, mortar. Like, all the cement here with all the shade, all the different shades of white and gray and brown, it really works. So it gives the pixel art a nice, you know, like I said, all the dirt and yeah, the cobblestone they got here, like I said, is a bit more, again, it's a lot more detail than you might have been used to seeing on an NES RPG, obviously. They picked, like, you know, the sprites are what they are. These are NES-looking Famicom sprites. They just have more detail and more colors than your average NES sprite does. But in Final Fantasy games, the emphasis was always on the character art of the enemies, which did not animate. So you were basically fighting static images. But yeah, the monster art, I mean, that was actually the appeal of Final Fantasy's art at the time, was that the enemies looked really menacing and they were very well detailed. They didn't move. In fact, the enemies looked like they would look in a first-person dungeon crawler, like a wizardry. Okay, so I can't leave. I'm in a prison. Free my soldiers in prison. So I'm supposed to just go to bed, huh? Okay, I want to make sure I already explored the rest of the castle. Here we go. The White Magic Research Lab. Fine, ladies. Yeah, in this game, again, I want to say, when I was a kid, these spells were named in Final Fantasy 1, the names were Cure, Cure 2, Cure 3, and Cure 4. I believe that's what's happening here. At least in the original game, but I think they just changed the names so that they weren't just numbers. I want to say that the names of the spells have been altered to match the original Japanese nomenclature. Because if I recall, I believe in definitely in Final Fantasy 1. I want to say when the North American localization of this game came out, they just called the spells Cure 2. Like CUR2, CUR3. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't remember what they called all the spells. I think they were called Lightning, like LITE. Like Lightning was LIT. Then there was LIT2. You know what I mean? So you knew how much stronger the spell was. But you can move diagonally now? Hold on. This wasn't in the original game. Hold on. I didn't know you could move diagonally. That changes everything. I wonder how it changes the blind random encounters, because unfortunately, again, this is a game from 1990, 1991. Blind random encounters. I thought you could change the speed. Oh, you could turn the encounters off. Press the right stick to turn the encounters on. Wow. That's game changing. So what you can do is if you want to level up, you can, but you don't have to. So if you want to grind, you can. Wow, they actually changed that. Yeah. We actually have been paying attention. Mini-map on or off. Okay. You can turn off the mini-map. I'm glad they kept it there as a default. Huh. There you go. I want to say in the original game there were some boots you can pick up that made you run fast. That made you run faster like this. So it was a piece of gear you had to equip to actually run faster in that game. But now it's just a quality of life feature. I guess they want me to go to bed. But yeah, I mean, yeah, in the old games, yeah, if you wanted to run faster in these games, you had to wear a particular set of boots. But I also want to say that... Yeah, I also want to say that in that game, in a lot of these old games, you could, what was it? Yeah, that determined I want to say the enemies appeared less often because you were running more quickly, right? Well, again, I haven't confirmed. Do the enemies attack you based on the number of steps you've taken, or based on the amount of distance you've traveled? That I don't know. I haven't bothered to check in the last 30 years. Yeah, again, completely apolitical story about a leader who's lost his marbles and is telling soldiers to follow his orders, even though they're probably not ethical or legal. Girl, what you doing in my bed? Girl, I'm in bed. I don't want you here with me. Yeah. You must journey afar to battle some phantom beast. It's too sudden. This is fine. Pay attention to the flame in the background. Everything's fine. But yeah, I want to say that flame was a 2-frame animation. I don't remember that flame being so exotically animated in the original game, anyway. I don't know if that bloom effect was there in the original game either. What? But you can add stuff like that because this isn't a launch title, so you can add these tiny little touches that weren't in the original game. But it's not like more background animation, stuff like that. Stuff you couldn't fit into the NES. Stuff you couldn't fit into the Super NES version, I would argue. Yes, he did kill mages, but they captured some other mages, so whatever. So I guess they killed the mages that got in the way, but they captured some other ones that didn't expressly try to kill them, I guess. I don't remember. It's kind of ambiguous, if I'm being honest. This bed's only big enough for one, Rosa. Go away. If you're wondering why I'm playing the original music and not the arrangement, because I listened to the entire arrangement last night. It's actually kind of bad. It's unfortunately, it's typical of what a lot of arranged soundtracks are, but I'll let you listen to more of it. Just a second. I'll shut up. It's a very melodramatic song. So this is auto playing. I'm down. Yep, colonialism. So it's like the advent of the gun. It's like the advent of gunpowder, I suppose. Yeah, I can say completely apolitical Japanese storytelling in video games. Maybe he's building a super weapon, like Cobra in the old G.I. Joe shows. This is the song, but the question is, where do I save? Triangle. Save right here. Because that's our party. I promise to let you listen to the music later. But for now, we're doing this. So this is the first actual save you can do in this game, in the original cartridge version, anyway. Okay, so can I go back? Find out in a second. You can turn the encounters on or off. I'm keeping the encounters on, so you get a feel for how the blind encounters worked in the original game. Okay, so I'll probably come back later and deliver that. Oh well. We'll figure it out. Just want to mention in passing, as far as the music goes, I was always a fan of the brass in this game. So I think they used the default Super Famicom, Super Nintendo sound font for the musical instruments in this game. And at the time, I'm willing to concede this. At the time, I thought this game had the best soundtrack on the console, with the exception of Ninja Turtles 4. So I would have, if you had asked me 5 years ago, or if you had asked me, say, 5 days ago, I would have said this is the second best music soundtrack on the console. Better even than Final Fantasy VI. And I'll explain why later. My opinion is altered a bit because I had not heard the whole soundtrack. I was basing those opinions on game rip recordings that I made of the soundtrack back when I was a kid, because I have audio tapes in my closet behind me where I was listening to where I was recording the music of this game on a boombox with C batteries. I'll let you listen to the music. What I'll also do is I'll let the combat go a bit more slowly here, because I want to at least kind of explain how the turn-based combat works, but I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time doing it, if I'm being honest. It's not that kind of game. The configuration. You can change, I want to say, can you change the... You can't change the colors of the menus. That's weird. Classic, standard, graphic display. That's it. You can also have modern font with no serifs, I think. It's more so you can see it's more compressed. But I'm not a huge fan of this font, honestly. Of course, you have to completely reload the game to load it in, which is kind of hilarious. So we're gonna make the font classic, old school pixel art with serifs. So this is how the text boxes used to look. And personally, I think it's easier to read. So I'll keep that on for you. I keep that on for you, loyal viewers and wanderers. Status. There's no real stats to explain here. Command, attack, jump, items. Cecil, attack, darkness. Don't know what darkness does. As I'll explain later, Kane right here has a jump attack, which allows him to leave the battle for at least one turn, maybe two. Then he comes back down and jumps on an enemy's head for massive damage. So we'll get to that later. For now, let's explain the basics of combat. Again, I like the shading that they use here in these early Final Fantasy games. They're like, hey, we have a larger color palette now, so how should Super Famicom games look? Well, they should look like this. Lots of shading. You know, this desert is 2 shades of orange and yellow instead of just one. This forest is detailed with like, whoop, wait. Oh, the chocobos, yeah. This hidden area here allows you to ride a chocobo, and if you're riding a chocobo, no enemies will attack you. So you can turn off the random encounters by riding a chocobo. We're not going to do that yet. Actually, let me check on something. Is this shown on the map? Just a second. Is that the square button or the R2 turns it off? R2 makes the map larger or smaller. You can barely see that. That's too big. You might not need to see much more than that. Okay, so we unfogged this part of the map. So I guess once we discover an area, it appears on the map as a yellow dot. Because I don't think that was here when I first started. That's a heal, right? Yeah, MP restored. Okay, so if you want to grind up, just come here to the chocobos and they'll heal you. Yeah, so you can just ride the chocobo here and you don't have to deal with any fights. But of course, once you leave the chocobo, it disappears. What does that say? Chocobo. So we found the chocobo forest. Okay, so we unlocked that at least. And that's my chocobo. So does it disappear when I leave it? Oh, you can go over the rivers. Oh, you can go through the water too. I didn't know that was a thing. Press X to disembark. And he returns home. So where's the chocobo? So he disappears. So once you dismount the chocobo, he runs home. So it's a one-way thing. Giddy up. Okay, the music's... I heard a music hit. You can't fool me. I want to say this song was in the original Final Fantasy, wasn't it? And if you want to go into the dungeon, you have to leave the chocobo. So that's going to be the dungeon we have to visit. Did I say we're going to go through some combat? Well, we'll get there eventually. So that's the only way to get out of here is to go through that cave. But it is kind of cool. You can just turn off the encounter so you can kind of explore the world on your own. You can't go through the reef. Can't go through the water. I guess you can grind up here if you want. Geography only somewhat matters in these old video games, if I'm being honest. He just disappears. So I always thought that was cute. So if you want to grind up, you can grind up here. So you can ride the chocobo or just heal yourself. I don't remember if this healing chocobo was here early in the game when I first played the Super Nintendo version. Let's actually turn on. Let's actually get to some combat. Okay, we have healing, but we don't have any. We don't have any healing spells. What's the point of healing ourselves? Actually, Rose is probably supposed to join us eventually. Preemptive strike. More commands. Row. So I think you can... Yeah, there's a back row, front row concept. I'm pretty sure I turned that off. I'm pretty sure I turned that off. So the enemies are missing. I thought the game was supposed to be paused. Okay, never mind. So I guess we're gonna have to attack. Okay, so we can't just dilly-dally, but we'll be fine. We're not gonna die or anything. And what's the auto battle? Yeah, the square buttons for the auto battle. Yeah, the square buttons for the auto battle. Okay, so what's darkness do? Is it just blind enemies? We have the jump attack here. So he jumps into the air and leaves the fight. Is darkness just a free attack? Yes, there's no magic use in that attack. So don't worry, Kane will come down eventually. So the whole deal is that Kane has that jump attack, which allows him to leave the battle temporarily, but it'll come back after 1 or 2 turns. So yeah, nope, so that darkness spell is just a free spell. But eventually you end up, you know, not becoming a Dark Knight anymore. We'll worry about that later. So yeah, so our boy Cecil here has that ability. But if we're gonna grind here. Jump. So we can attack dudes in the back by jumping, right? Attack. Yeah, we can attack dudes in the back anyway. So you can attack dudes in the back. That doesn't matter. I want to say in this game there's a front row, back row system. So the way it works is that the character on top to the character in the front row on top. And you see, he left the battle for a round and did double damage, or probably triple damage. So if you're willing, so it protects him because he can't take damage while he's in the air, and he does extra damage when he lands. How do I set this? How do I set this front row, back row system here? Order. You can decide. Yeah, you want someone in the back row or the front row. Okay, so now Cecil's in the back and Kane's in the front. So does it alternate like that? Yeah, that's what it looks like. So the first, third, and fifth rows, I guess. And you can also swap them out like that. Now, why would you do that? Because the guy in front takes most of the damage. The person on the top takes the most damage. Everyone in the front row takes more damage than the people in the back. I forget exactly how it's laid out, but I want to say it's always Vanguard is row 1, 3, and 5. Rows 2 and 4 are always the back row. Or you can just do that if you want to swap them out like that. I don't remember if that was in the original game. I know there was a front row, back row system, and it kind of mattered at the time. Are you less likely to hit enemies if you're in the back row, I want to say? That's a different question. Because I know Cecil can attack from the back. Because he has that darkness ability. Darkness. Attack. So I think he's doing just as much damage. I mean, is there even a back row if there's no front row? Like, do they have to both be in the same row? Is that the distinction? It might not matter, but again, this is a research stream. Well, it's not a research stream, it's a revisitation. So we can do that. Put one, so now Cecil's in the back, Kane's in the front. We're gonna have to grind him up. So hopefully I get my health back. But then again, I can turn off the encounters, so it doesn't matter. So we won't have Kane jump yet. Yeah, Cecil's in the back, but he seems fine. Why even bother jumping? He's not doing. There's no reason to jump, is there? He seems to be doing a perfectly reasonable amount of damage. Yeah. Again, these are very old RPGs. You don't have to dig too deeply into them. The mechanics are attack. So do I get healed? Or do I just get my magic back? Okay, see, I'm not healed. So I have no magic spells. So how do I heal myself? I can't use magic. I might have to go into the cave and heal myself. So here's what we'll do. I'll do a quick check. I'll turn off the encounters. I mean, the Chocobo can just walk through the water, so that's probably not a terrible idea. But the idea is that it makes backtracking less annoying, because if you can just turn off the encounters, then you can just grind up when you want. So the challenge isn't, you know, surviving a fight, getting back to town. There is a healing item here. We'll turn on the encounters later, don't worry, I'm just experimenting. Give me a second. Yes, there's an argument to be made that in order to make the game fair, I need to turn the encounters back on. Which I'll do. But I can't heal myself because there's no way to heal myself here. Yeah, there's no way to heal myself, and you can see on the map, there's an exit. Yeah, entrance and the exit. I know there's a way to heal myself, I just don't know where it is. Because I can't go to sleep. And I don't have any potions. I got a tent, that's it. So I have one tent. So I can't grind up. Was there like a shop I missed or something? Well, I said we're going to play this game normally, so let's see how they want me to play the game. So we'll load that game save. So if I can't heal myself, that makes things a bit more interesting. There's a town here, though, right? Okay, so I'm an idiot. Forget I said anything. I can heal I can heal myself here by going to the inn. Oh, that's Rose's house. Oh, so you can interact with items by seeing if there's an exclamation mark. So does that mean if there's anything hidden inside these pots, there'll be an exclamation mark in front of it? Because in the original game, there was no way to know. Also, again, if I was playing on a CRT, there's some light black or like dark gray corridors you can see in some of these houses, or in some caves. That means there are secret passages. There are secret passages in this game that you can easily see on a CRT when I was playing the game. They might have blacked them up, if you know what I mean. But yeah, the secret passages weren't so secret because you can always see it's like in an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon or an old He-Man cartoon. You can investigate the background to see if you could walk through them. Yeah. Sorry, Ma. Rose is going to be joining us a bit shortly. My waifu will be joining us shortly. There be dragons, I guess. Devil's Road. Well, I guess we'll be going back there later in the game. Useful tips. To flee from battle, yeah. The L and the R buttons on the Super Nintendo controller are used to flee. Magic spells can be fast and multiple. Yes, some during spell. Press. Yeah. When you're using a spell, you can press left on the D-pad to select all of the enemies, or just press the button, or just have it target one individual enemy. Or the right button to target all allies. Yeah, so if you want to heal everyone in your party for less health. Or you can target one party member for more health. That kind of thing. Talk to Fat Chocobo. He will hold on your items for you. Yeah. You're allowed, again, old school RPG inventory management. You can hold 99 houses, but you can only have 99 potions. You can't put the potions in the house. Just saying. So basically you can have, I want to say the rules are something like this. You can have 99 unique items. And you can have 99 of each item, but you cannot, again, the limit is based on the number of unique items. Like, you can have 99, I guess the best way to describe it is you can have 99 potions and 99 houses, but you cannot put the potions inside the house. It's hilarious. It's old school inventory management. It's based on slots, basically. You can have 99 slots that hold 99, you can hold 99 of each item in a slot. But you can't have more than 99 potions. You can't have 99 potions in one slot and 98 potions in the second slot. You're only allowed 99 unique slots. Each slot holds 99 of each item, and that's it. So you can't manipulate it like that. Naming way. I get to change my name. Okay, so I can be Cecil, or I can be Beanie. Or I can be Tchalla, the darkness of Dark Knights. We can be Cain, or we can be Abel. Yeah, so yeah, I can be Abel if I don't want to be Cecil, or whatever. So you know how we do. Some characters and symbols might not displayed properly. And Cain the Dragoon. So who should Cain be? I have my preferences. So yeah, we're ready to go. No Killmonger. Well, technically we are Killmonger at this point in the game. I don't know, maybe Golbez is Killmonger. Yeah, caverns have save points, because remember, you can save anywhere in the overworld, but if you want to save inside a dungeon, you gotta go to a save point. Usually in front of a boss. That's how it is in these old video games. Try slowing down the battle speed. Again, if you weren't familiar with RPGs back then, turn-based RPGs, this active time battle might be annoying. So you can slow it down if you need to. So if you go to the menu, change your formation by moving characters with low stamina to the back row, okay. Low stamina. Select a row from the commands menu and press the left button to switch between the front and the back rows. Press the right directional button to switch to defend yourself. You can protect yourself, yeah. You want to protect yourself or deal some damage? You can use your weapon as an item. I want to say there are some weapons where if you activated them, I think they have like special magic, I think. Like, I think like you can hit enemies with the staff or use it to cast a spell, I want to say. Something like that. It's been a while since I played. It's been a while since I played this game. I've not played this game in 40 years. Or 30 years. I played it in 92. So it's been a long time. I haven't heard that name in quite some time. Yeah, switch weapons, you can change items during combat. That's nice. I guess we'll slow down the battle a little bit, so I get to explain things. We can speed them up if we need to. See, it's nice to have this stuff in a new RPG on a new console. No. I don't remember being able to change my name in the original Final Fantasy II, but it's nice that I can. Okay, no hidden areas here. Yeah, I mentioned this. When I rented the game, I ripped all the game music. The door on the far west side of town leads to an old waterway with... Okay. Really? So that's the way to get in. That would explain a lot, I suppose. And again, like I said, as far as the pixel art goes, I like the different shades. I like how the bricks and the mortar all have different shades of color, like multiple shades of color. Again, this is the Super NES color palette. Now, as you saw earlier, the fog effect in the cave and the animation on this waterfall was not in the original game. All of these water effects, the rippling water effects, were not in the original game. The animation was far more static. Now, to be fair, again, they kept the pixel art style here. They added some cheap effects, but in the end, this very much looks like a Super Famicom ROM with slightly improved background animation. There's Sid. Is that what he's... you probably know the joke. I want to say Sid became, what, Sydney in Final Fantasy 15? As I recall, yeah, I think they brought back Sid, and they yassified Sid apparently. I don't remember her name, by the way. I don't know her name. We'll call her Sid's daughter. He's trying to stick up for us. Chocobos of the world. He's an ornithologist, is that the word? The history of shipbuilding. So basically, yeah. So he's just building airships based, you know, he's Leonardo da Vinci. He's that Miyazaki character, everyone knows. He's that, you know, what, archetypical Miyazaki character, I guess. Airships, hang gliders, you know. Nadia, Kiki. What was that? Well, Ghibli was doing flight. Yeah, I'm sure some high schooler did a essay about flight in Ghibli movies. Flight in Ghibli movies, I guess. What was that Ghibli game? Ni no Kuni. Yes, there's a hang glider in Ni no Kuni. Again, terrible story, great animation. Imagine that. Well, great animation for the parts of Ghibli animated, not so much for the regular character models. But I played the PS3 version on this channel. We'll talk about it later. Not yet. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna quick save. Just to see what happens. Well, there's your problem. I don't remember this song. That was neat, I guess. I don't know what she did. I hope it was appropriate. Oh, there might be a treasure chest around here. Let me check. Yep, called it. Just a second. Where's the map? There are 6 chests here and 8 items, including this one. Fantastic! I found a tent. Yep, I found one of the items. So yeah, stuff like this. Okay, so what does the hourglass do? A timepiece for the same effect as stop. Okay. So it's a consumable you can use to stop enemies instead of casting the stop spell, which would do the same thing. Door's locked. The dark sword. The best kind of sword. No jokes, please. So I think we're good. So I guess there might be some treasure chests outside some of these locked doors. Yeah, I think we use the Devil's Road to get to the moon. I forget. Because, spoiler alert, you get to visit the moon in this game. Which I always thought was a nice touch. Okay, so I can see the item shop, the weapon shop. So you know how it is in these old video games. You're going to have to grind up. So we'll end the video by doing a tiny bit of grinding. And to tease the next video. You know what? Just because I'm the Dark Knight doesn't mean I'm evil. Maybe you should stop resorting to color-coded morality systems, lady. Maybe dark things are good things, actually. Yeah, maybe the Dark Knight is good, actually. Okay, free stuff. Do I get to stay at the inn for free? Hold on, there's supposed to be a button. I see that treasure chest. Give me the loot. There it is. There you go. I'll let your boy. Dwarven bread. Got another tent. So the stuff I absolutely have to have for my journey. And you might notice, you saw earlier I was going through the river and going through the stream. Like, you're able to, like, go behind some houses to find hidden items. That kind of thing. Dancers wanted. Age-appropriate dancers, I wouldn't hope. Like the lady outside who said, I promise don't get me in trouble if I teach you something, if I show you something cute. If I show you something cool. I'm like, okay, she did a thing. I don't know what that was. Anyway. Maybe there was a reference that I'm not supposed to understand. What was that thing she threw? I hope it was a handkerchief. Don't ask questions, kids. Or just, what was she throwing, Mommy? A handkerchief. Where was she hiding it? Don't ask. Sprite animation. This is what Final Fantasy VII Remake could have been, kids, but they went hard for us. They did this for us. Yeah, when are we gonna get? Yeah, your boy's been asking for a Final Fantasy I remake for a long time. It doesn't have to look. It doesn't have to be a AAA game, honestly. Like the joke from among some people of the era, people my age, are like, just take the old Final Fantasy games, make them look like Octopath Traveler. Like that's the meme. That's the meme from SpongeBob. Just take the old games, make them look like Octopath Traveler, and they're right. So where's my save? You will end this video by visiting the cave as a tease. We're not gonna go that deep into it. I just want to see how bad the combat is. Can't go in here. So yeah, don't forget to stop by the town. I completely ignored the town as soon as I left the castle, so I'm glad I checked. And all the town tiles are the same. So anytime you go to any of these tiles on the outside of town, they're always the same. Just so you know. all these, it's not, this town is 4 tiles wide. It's 4 tiles large, but they're all the same tile. Just so you know. They all look like this. So how much is the inn? I want to see how much money we can get. We have 480. So how much money can we get? Okay, so it's 50. So I think you have to kill like 5 enemies to spend 1 night at an inn, which makes sense for a game like this. But again, I was hoping we'd have a mage with us so we can actually heal ourselves. But I guess that's not in the cards. So how many fights do you think we'll get into before we get to the cave? Because remember, you can also go diagonally. I turned off the encounters. My apologies. So let's see how much money we can get before we end the video. Like, how many fights will you get into before you get to the cave? Probably 2, if not 3. Items. So the menu. So the game is paused in the menus because we're in the wait mode. So when we're not in these menus, the clock is still running. Apparently, you can also turn on the auto battle if you want. Yeah, turn off the auto battle. Okay, so that bar's going up pretty slowly. Okay, so that's fine. Let me check on a couple of things. So if I want the battle to go faster, I have to adjust that at the menu screen. I also need to adjust my settings. I need to put Cecil. I need to put the Dark Knight in the back row. I need to put the Dragoon in the front. I can switch that up if I want. Apparently, that's the way it's supposed to work. So, status. Order. Sorry, order. So if you want Dark Knight in the back row, you can do that. Cecil has more energy, but, you know. Cecil has more hit points. I think weren't these guys level 7 when we first started the game? Now they're level 10 already. I'm not complaining. Let's just cut down the grinding. No complaints. Old school RPGs had a lot of grinding, as I'm sure you know. So we'll increase the battle speed. And of course we can auto battle if we need to. The battle speed determines the rate at which the bar fills when the bar is full. Then when the bar is full, then your turn comes up. the bar increases at the rate based on your speed. There's a speed stat. What's it called? Is it agility? So I want to say if Cecil and Kane are both start at 0, Kane's agility stat means his bar goes up more quickly than Cecil's does. Kane's agility is 11. Cecil's is 10, so apparently Cecil's bar goes up 10% faster. I don't know if that's what it means. It just means his bar goes up more quickly. That's how it's kind of like Grandia in the sense that there is a bar that has to be filled before your turn comes up, but in Grandia it was all one shared timeline. Dark Rose Valkyrie does the same thing. I think Emerald Saga Beyond does the same thing, where everyone's on one timeline, but the rate your turn comes up more quickly as you sprint towards the finish line, basically. So the faster you are, the more quickly your turn comes up. But there's a recovery time, so your speed determines how quickly you recover, that kind of thing. I prefer that, but in 1990 this was acceptable. I have not played Final Fantasy 2 or 3, the Japanese versions. We'll play those later. But I wanted to set the table with this game because I know this game. If I have to play when I play Final Fantasy 2 or 3, those will be research streams. Well, we got attacked from behind. So that means the character in the back row is now in the vanguard. So stuff like that. Again, you can't control that. It's all randomized. In the old days, you didn't really have a choice. You would get into, again, enemies exist in the overworld in these games, but you can't see them. They just jump you. There's that dice rolling encounter rate that was in all of these old videos, or almost all of them. You would wander around, and then after a certain number of steps, the game would start dice rolling enemy encounters. And if you, I think at some point, you were guaranteed to get an enemy encounter. But in Phantasy Star 2, for example, which I played on this channel, the main problem was enemies would, in other words, if you saw me abuse this, I would rewind the game and it would despawn an enemy encounter. So it was possible to make a significant amount of progress in that game if you got favorable dice rolls for enemy encounters. Or you could get attacked every other step because of the way randomized encounters worked in that game. I'm not a fan. We earned 40 gold from 2 fights. So if you want to spend the night at the inn, you're going to have to get into a bunch of fights. Maybe 3 enemy encounters will do you. So I'll double check. So again, if you need 50 gil to spend the night at the inn, then you're just going to have to grind. This is normal. This is what we all did when we were kids. So we got 20 gil. So basically 5 gil per enemy? Yeah, bad math. 5 gil per elf. Kill 10 elves, you can spend the night at an inn. Stuff like that. And of course, what we always want to do in these games is get better gear. What gear do you buy? Depends. Normally, you just end up getting better weapons. What do we have? Darkness. So is there anything we can buy that's better than what we have is the question. Because the idea is you want to spend it, again, old school. You spend a bunch of time fighting. You get money. You spend the money to get better gear that will allow you to survive the enemies you're going to face inside the caves. So you're preparing for the dungeon by fighting the enemies outside of the dungeon to get better gear so that when you go into the dungeon, the tougher enemies you face won't kill you. Basic RPG progression. No, we're not going there. We're going to the whatchamacallit. So we're not going to grind on this video, but I do want to see how bad the grind is, if I'm being honest. We have our game save. Whoops, sorry. I did the thing again. That's okay. We're just going to do this. They locked the door, so I can't buy better gear. Huh, funny how that works. Oh, well. I tried. So I guess we can't get better gear. So forget everything I just said. Well, it's still applicable. It's just not applicable yet. You know what I mean? What I will do is I will test. I can do save loads. I can't load from here, can I? Well, I could go to the title screen, but that wouldn't be worth it. Okay, auto battle. You gotta choose a command. You gotta go to a menu. You gotta go to a sub menu, or you gotta choose a command. You can't just dilly dally here. The enemies will just keep attacking you. So when your turn is up, when your turn is ready, you can go to the sub menu here, and that pauses the game. Otherwise, the enemies will just keep attacking you. If you change the configuration from wait battle to active battle, the enemies can still attack you when you're in these menus. It's stupid, it's lame, but it was how to make combat more interesting. Menuing mattered in a way, but the combat's not that difficult, obviously. It's very simplistic, as you can see. It gets more sophisticated later, I guess, when you start getting more allies, when you have more magic spells to deal with. This is a very linear game. My memory of it is that, again, this isn't like Final Fantasy 1 where you can choose your classes. You can't choose to have a party of 4 fighters or 4 red mages. It's not that kind of game. So did we get all of our hit points back? No, we do not. Okay, so we can't get better gear. So you can do quick save. What's the quick save button? What's the quick load button, I guess is the question. Not here. And again, we can always go to the menu so we can get our health back. And of course, you can always just go to the chocobo to get to the cave more quickly. And again, depending on what environment the encounter takes place, depending on where the enemy jumps you, you'll go to a different background, and of course, the area where the enemy where the encounter is spawned determines the enemies that spawn within that encounter. So if you go to a forest, you're more likely to fight these enemies. If you're in the open field, you're more likely to fight different enemies. If you remember Final Fantasy 1, there would be a special forest where giants tended to spawn. So you would go to that forest and grind up there. As you can see right here, we got 20 gil and 85 experience instead of 20 gil and 80 experience when we're fighting elves. So, of course, enemies will drop different items like this. So different enemies drop different items. You know how it is. Old school Japanese RPGs. Use... Cures now life darkness. Cures now life petrification. A gold needle? Okay. Remember, kids, you can't chop down a petrified tree. Petrification was a thing. Yeah, you're turned to stone. Like Medusa style. Hit you with that female gaze. You're petrified. Although, was the metaphor supposed to be Medusa so ugly that she stops you in your tracks, or she's so hot that she stops you in your tracks? That part I haven't quite figured out that part of the lore. I didn't take Greek mythology when I was in university. I studied the history of Brazil instead. But I did love reading Greek mythology back in the I did love reading Greek mythology back in middle school. Your boy read Homer. I forget which translation I read. It was prose. I read a prose translation of Homer. Of Homer's Odyssey back in middle school. Loved it. Found a potion. So that's how you know there's an item in a vase. When you get next to it, you'll see the exclamation marks. That saves you a bit of trouble. So that's how you know there's... In other words, in the old days, we just kind of like mash on the X button just to see if there's anything inside the... To see if there's anything inside the pot. Sure. So we'll heal ourselves here. I can play with the D-pad, we're fine. But again, diagonal movement changes everything. You can only talk to him if he's in front. I played a lot of RPGs, so I'm familiar with this kind of nonsense. The pacing. Again, for people who grew up with certain expectations, these games are fine. Kind of hard to recommend games like this in a modern. If you did not grow up playing this game, kind of hard to recommend it, honestly. There is charm to it, but I can't sit here and tell you that you should be playing this game. So let's do a test. Let's see how far we can go. Because we made it across the bridge. So we'll end the video with a bit of RNG testing. So there's no quick load button, which kind of surprises me. Yeah, there's no quick load button. It would be cool if there were, though. So we made it across the bridge. Okay, so basically, different enemies this time. But again, does moving diagonally change the math here, or is it just based on distance? I wouldn't be shocked if it were based on distance. Like, after a certain amount of distance, the game might just say, okay, we're going to spawn an enemy here. It's not a research tree. I'm just doing some tests here, folks. Bear with me. Guess I could also do this. Okay, so you always start at the same spot. That's cute. Okay, so I made it a bit further this time. So maybe it's based on the number of steps. There's an argument to be made that, you know, maybe it's based on the number of steps. So it's possible we can get to the cave in only with only 2 encounters, right? That sounds about right. Yeah, I don't know if it's on a global timer or something. But see, yeah, I almost made it past the forest. Okay, so there's a bit of randomization here. No complaints. Could also run. That's also a possibility. You know, I didn't bother to see if I can buy any items. I should probably do that. So we'll make it to the cave, then we'll just load out of it and see what happens. I also want to see who we're fighting. So we made it to the cave in 1 encounter. And again, the chocobos are free. So you can just ride the chocobo to get here more quickly. So I'm glad that feature was there. And again, you can see this this pixel fog effect was not in the original game. Just so you know. Darkness. Can we use darkness on one enemy, I wonder? Missed 2 of them. Let's see if we can target one enemy this time. Darkness. Nope, it's an AoE. It attacks all enemies. But the sword's stronger, so you're probably better off just using the sword, just whacking them. You're better off whittling enemies down by whacking them. Insect us. Not that strong. But then again, I'm also in the back row. I don't know what that means. So we leveled up. Yeah, the enemies give you way more experience here, so that's good. I don't know if... Actually, I can test that. I can see if... Yeah, I can test that. I can turn off the running speed and see if that changes. Can't run because I'm auto-battling. Because you have to hold down L2 and R2 to run. Okay. Which makes sense, honestly. So the enemies here give you way more experience, but there's no way to heal yourself unless you buy some items. Got a potion. You're going to need that. Okay, this is cool. So you can see the treasure chest. Okay, here's what we'll do. Back out. So let me turn off the running. I want to do a quick check on something. Controls. What's the auto run button? Left stick. If we turned off the auto run, see if that changes the math. It doesn't change the math, it just means you're faster. But then again, remember, you're not really running. You're not running, you're just in the overworld. So yeah, that's not really the issue. Yeah, you're not really running. Yeah, so the overworld running speed doesn't matter at all. Okay, so I can do a save outside of the cave, but you can't. But you have to walk back home. But you can turn off the encounters when you walk back home, so it's not terrible. But the idea is you are going to need some items. Yeah, so I got some items. That's good. In fact, you know how it is. Like in Phantasy Star 2, you would need a lot of healing items to walk into a cave. Just accept the fact that you have to grind for money so you can buy consumables, so you can buy better gear, so that you can survive the random encounters, because the encounters were hard, but they weren't hard because they were challenging. They were hard because enemies hit harder. And the only way to make the game easier is to grind. Basically, there were no strategies you could employ in Phantasy Star, really, other than buying the most appropriate gear for the dungeon you're exploring. But you can't, remember, in Phantasy Star 2, you cannot target individual enemies. You could target groups of a type of enemy. So if you have two insects and 2 bats, you can't target the bat on the left or the bat on the right. You could target one of the 2 bats or one of the 2 insects. You have to push the guy out the way by holding the. You have to push the guy out the way by pressure. You have to push against the enemy to get them out your way. Old school stuff. So frustrating, but yeah, it's a thing. They never fixed that apparently. But there were always so many jokes where someone would be blocking like a narrow passageway, and you would have to push them. You have to push them forward. It's an old school JRPG bit. Phoenix Down works for healing KO'd allies. Except Aerith, cough. Let's see. The favorite food, fat chocobo. Try using word smells of chocobo. Yeah, to hold more items, something like that. Tents are nice. They're basically a way to save. They're basically a way to heal yourself outside of a cave. Or outside of town. So I'm glad I had some. So a tent is worth twice as much as a stay at the inn. And I want to say the price of inns change depending on the town. In old school RPGs, different towns have different prices for inns. But again, my math is always, how many enemies do you have to kill, or how many fights do you have to survive to earn enough money to spend the night at the inn? Because you gotta grind, so you have to earn enough money by grinding to heal yourself and spend the night at the inn. So it's like rent. You're spending money to heal yourself after a fight, but ultimately you're earning enough money so that you can have a little left over, so that you can buy better items. You don't need to heal yourself at an inn constantly. You don't have to heal yourself after 10 fights, because you're keeping all your money to buy better gear, not to pay rent, because you don't have to heal yourself every like 10 fights or whatever. Typical RPG stuff. I do need more potions. So we'll get a couple of those, because these are always nice to have. Especially at this point in the game. There are no healing spells. You should probably have way more potions than this, I would argue. And eventually you get stronger potions. You might need a potion. Yeah, I want to say in this game, if you get poisoned, you stay poisoned. Until you... Here's now I have Toad status. Toad. And we'll get 1 Phoenix down in case we die. So we'll earn some more loot when we're not... Oh, we can sell stuff too. Like, what can I sell? Well, not the stuff I have equipped. Yeah, I can't sell the stuff I've equipped. But if you don't need ether, you can sell that. Same effect as sight. So you can heal yourself from sight. Okay, that's cute. I want to say that had a different name. I want to say all these long item names weren't really in the original game. Yeah, I want to say in Final Fantasy, on the North American cartridge, they wouldn't say the word shield. I think they would have like an icon that said, so it would say iron, shield icon. Iron, armor icon. I think that's how they did it. I forget. It saves space because it means you have more letters to play with. Remember, guys, Old school computers were about very, very restrictive memory requirements. So if you could save 4 letters, you would, because it adds up. You save 4 letters here, save 4 letters there, replace, yeah, the Japanese were doing it. Don't use letters, use kanji, because each symbol could be 2 to 4 characters, right? So don't write the word kiss, write the word, or maybe put it this way. Don't say sword, don't say iron sword, say iron sword icon, which takes up 1 character. So an icon of a sword. You know, stuff like that. You know, like, don't show it like you can do a spear. But the idea is if you have a gold spear, then you just use a character, use an icon instead of 4 or 5 letters, because it adds up. You use all those extra letters that you saved on the menu screens to add more text to the dialogue like this. What you need so you can make sense of the story, because you have to be efficient with your English. You have to be efficient with your language. You have to be efficient with the words you use. It has to fit in the box. It has to fit on the cartridge. Video games are weird, dog. Man, I tell you. You kids don't know. That's the way it was and we hated it. That's the way it was and we dealt with it. So I gotta earn some more money. So what I could do is I can go inside the cave, turn off random encounters, and then come back home. I can go inside the cave, fight some enemies. Oh, I know. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cheat. We're gonna cheat. We're not gonna play the game this way. We're just gonna cheat. So here's what we'll do. We'll go to the cave, we'll turn off the encounters, we'll see if there's a healing spring, and then we'll bop out. I want to say there is. There's a healing spring in, I know there's a healing spring in, Breath of Fire 1 when I played that recently. When I played Breath of Fire 1 on the Super Nintendo, it's like, it took me like an hour to earn enough. It took me an hour to earn enough to get to the, first dungeon. Because the first dungeon has like a healing pool in it where you can grind up some more. But it takes you so long to get there, dog. It's wild. It just takes so long. It takes like an hour to grind up enough so that you can reliably survive a trip to the dungeon. Never mind just getting to the, never mind getting to the healing pool. So basically you need to be strong enough to have enough geared, enough hit points to survive a trip to the dungeon so you could get to the healing pool where you could actually grind up. I'm going the right way. Yeah, I am. I want to say there's some hidden passages here. I'll show you if I figure them out. It's the great black beast of... Ah! Leave now, or suffer the consequences. Okay, so I have to fight a boss here, so never mind. So there is no healing potion. So it's just a single floor dungeon. So we'll probably end up dying here. So we'll end the video soon. Oh, I have darkness. Let's see if the darkness works. Probably not. They have potions if we need potions. And I think once the mist dragon dissipates, you can't attack him. So once... Yeah, it turns to mist, you can't attack him. Well played. Love this music, by the way. Probably the best boss music out before Final Fantasy VI. So Final Fantasy VIII had really good boss music. Thanks for telling me. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's not going well. If I turned off the auto battle. Yeah, turn off the auto battle. Otherwise, just gonna attack him pointlessly. So yeah, just sit there and wait for the enemy to be vulnerable, I guess. See? So now we're dead. So we're gonna end the video pretty soon. But you know we're teasing the next video. You know how it is. Come on. Attack now. See how long it lasts, of course. I missed on the darkness. See, we're doing not much damage. That's good. So is he still dragon form? Okay, so we have to wait. Just defend. You can also heal yourself if you need to, that kind of thing. Waiting. Waiting. So yeah, there's not much to this. It's just don't attack. Okay, darkness. And I missed, so I guess the darkness doesn't work. And I died. Oh well. Guess I deserve that. Why did I die exactly? That was a critical hit. Minor epilepsy. They might have cut down on that, but minor epilepsy warning there. Yeah, why jump? Well, to avoid damage, obviously. You might need Kane to stay on the ground so that he can protect what's his name. So that he can protect Cecil. So we'll back out. So we'll come back and play more of this game later. I'll go into more detail about, you know, all of the grinding. Again, I'm not going to make you sit through the grinding, but we'll go through some of that. Because we do have to grind at some point. This would be a good place to save. This would be a good place to grind, but it's easier to grind now because you can turn off the encounters if you have to, you know, hike all the way back home. So you don't eat through all your potions, but you know, it's a video game. You gotta grind up eventually. It's entirely possible you don't have to grind up. So this is video number 1 of Final Fantasy IV. We'll play more of this later, obviously. And I want to go back and play. I also want to see how Final Fantasy VI plays out, so we'll see how that goes. But you can't really avoid the grind. I can't really avoid the grind, I think. You can just kind of, like, limit its damage, I would argue. So I'll let the music play us out. Record this audio with the Turtle Beach Recon headset plugged into the gamepad, and I'll get the music player on. It's a cool feature. I'm glad they include this. The entire soundtrack's like an hour long. Literally, like, it's like 57.5 minutes long. So where's the boss fight? We can just do this one. It's a good song. Yeah, the arrangement sucks. The arrangement's not good. We'll complain about that later. It's not good at all. In fact, it doesn't. I don't think it improves any song, which is embarrassing. That bass.